Cuomo here. Tonight is a special edition. We're going to spend the full hour with limited commercial breaks looking at Trump's first year of his second term. And I want to thank Sling, my sponsor, for sponsoring tonight's show and allowing us this opportunity. Look, the headline is that as Americans, we should want this country to be doing better. We should want administrations to have successes that work for the many. The reality is that this has been a decidedly chaotic year and tensions are rising. In terms of grading the Trump team, you can do that. But I will suggest this. The tricky part is how to apply the data, right? The trick with all economic analysis is timing. I don't think it's fair to measure where things are now against when we were in the depth of the pandemic. Yet that is what the administration and many influencers are doing. Remember, President Trump was in power when the pandemic started, and it was not handled well. I'm old enough to remember when Operation Warp Speed and the vaccine were the signature achievement for then President Trump. So whatever went down is on him as well. So the fair comparison is the last year of President Biden's term, so after the pandemic, when there was a gradual recovery across the board, and compare that to the first year of this administration. Fair, right? So for a president who swept into an unlikely skip second term on record votes, the expectations were high and specific. The economy was reduced to a single phrase: gas and groceries. Now that phrase has not been uttered in a minute because selling massive change is easier than delivering. The president can say our economy right now is the best ever. It is not. Gas prices were already coming down under Biden as we recovered from the pandemic, and the country had to deal with the effect on prices from the war in Ukraine. Under Trump's first year, gas prices do continue to drop. The prices are not down dramatically, nor are they down everywhere equally. In fact, gas prices in several states on the West Coast and Northeast, major population centers, are still above $3 a gallon with wild regional and in-state variability. Why is it down? Partially thanks to U.S. energy production increasing. Now, that was true under Biden as well. And prices are also benefiting from increased global supply and, unfortunately, falling demand at home and abroad. On grocery prices, in the last year, grocery prices on balance have increased 1.4%. That was in Biden's last year. All right, across the board, last year of Biden, up 1.4%. Why? Well, the rate of increase was slowing since the pandemic, but there were still supply chain issues and elevated costs. If you're talking about chicken, eggs, bird flu ravaged supply. Now, despite some of those conditions abating, in President Trump's first year, food prices have actually increased by nearly 2%. Why? Because those same pressures that were in place under Biden are still in place, but they're not as severe. So why? Tariffs should have a finger pointed at them for prices. So when Trump says grocery prices are down overall, that is not true. And they are increasing at a faster clip under Trump than they did during Biden's last year. Check it. So, is there good news? Yes, especially if you're a high earner. GDP grew over 4% in the third quarter last year, much higher than Biden's 3% growth in the third quarter of 2024. Inflation overall ticked down from 2.9 when Biden left office to 2.7 under Trump today. So year over year, the rate of inflation, the rate of growth in our prices has slowed a bit. Are either of these metrics the best ever boasted? No, not even close. A 2.7% inflation rate is still well above the 2% benchmark that economists, as a function of consensus, believe we need to allow for price and wage stability. The truth is, for a supposed populist, this administration has been much better for the few than the many. It is what I keep telling you is called a K-shaped economy, okay? Just like a K, we all start off the same point. Some are going up, a lot are going down, okay? That is the legacy of this first year. The rich are richer and the rest are struggling. And a major warning sign is that unemployment is ticking up. It was higher last month under Trump than it was in Biden's last month as president. Why? Well, Trump fired government workers, and again, Tariffs are putting a burden on the job market. The cost of everything that matters is up. The cost of coverage, home, auto, health, okay, in both 2024 under Biden and 2025, up across the board. I think we're best served focusing on health insurance premiums. Why? It's a typical family's second or third largest expense, okay? During Biden's last year, family premiums went up 7%. It was about 25 grand for a family just to have health insurance. 2025 under Trump, it's up 6% more to nearly $27,000. So yes, it's increasing at a slightly slower pace than under Biden's last year, but the cost of health insurance is still a record high. And this is where Trump needs to focus. Instead, he's looking everywhere else. Why? Because dealing with the cost of living is hard. Immigration is easier. And so the president has argued that this would reduce the cost of living if he could just get rid of all those illegals. The idea is that undocumented immigrants are taking good jobs. And I'm telling you, that is BS. Here's what happens. People who employ large numbers of these much maligned undocumented folks pay them sub-market wages, which reduces the pay for the whole job sector. So tell me, why isn't ICE rounding up those employers, the ones who lure people here illegally and exploit them? Now, that said, the border is the big fix for Trump. In Biden's last year, there were over 1.6 million border encounters. There was a 90% drop in Trump's first year to just 180,000. It's a huge achievement for him. The border is less porous, period. On deportations, in Biden's last year, he deported 50,000 migrants. This year, President Trump deported 230,000 migrants. Now, it's well short of his stated goal of 1 million, but it's still a 360% increase from Biden's last year. I put a huge asterisk on that number, not because it's inaccurate, because of the context. How you enforce the law matters. What I see as the abuse of ICE agents by this administration matters. The raids, the irresponsible way federal agents have treated citizens and nonviolent, undocumented folks. The reality is not just, this is my opinion, the reality that you've all been seeing on your screens has driven Trump's numbers into the toilet. He has literally seemed to steal defeat on the issue of immigration and enforcement from the jaws of victory on this signature issue. More than half of us say he's gone too far with deportations, and more than half disapprove of his tariffs, okay? That is why, in part, 6 in 10 of us say Trump is focused on the wrong priorities. 3 in 4 say Trump is not focused enough on inflation. Nearly 6 in 10 say Trump has hurt the cost of living. And more than half say he's made the cost of health care worse. Trump would be best served to focus on America's domestic issues as he promised. Greenland is not a thing for us. The lack of greenbacks to pay for increasing prices is. Distraction has worked well for this president, but his effectiveness there is declining faster than inflation. The White House posted an AI image of Trump planting the American flag on Greenland. This country as a whole does not seem to enjoy seeing our allies disrespected the way the nativist few in MAGA do. 7 in 10 disapprove of Trump buying Greenland. Nearly 9 in 10 say you better not do it militarily. But the biggest critique of this first year is not about the numbers, not for me. It's about the feel. We are so decided, we're so decidedly drawn to social media as a major metric of our well-being now. And as a result, we're so divided. We're so raw. We're so cruel. And social media is like the president's sandbox. He seems to enjoy this politics of pure blood sport where cooperation is seen as weakness. If the president cannot pivot from the harshness and get Congress to collaborate on the cost of living, this first year, as uneven, as chaotic as it was, may wind up being as good as it gets for him, especially if the midterms reflect the current mood. So that's how I see it looking at the data as presented. Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.